So I manage my brother-in-law's chiropractic practice. We only do neuropathy now. We no longer do chiropractic. He pulled me out of retirement. I've been with the practice for a couple of years. During that time, I've totally learned all about marketing in today's world because I'm 64, and when I retired, the only advertising we did was inside referrals and yellow pages. My, have times changed. So I'm self-taught on this, but our marketing just wasn't working when I came on board. And we've gone through, in the last 2 years, 7 Facebook marketing companies. They start out gangbangers, and then very quickly it's bad.
So what was it? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, so when you did just start with us, like, what was it that you were experiencing? What were the challenges you guys were facing, looking to address?
So when I found out about you all, the people we had been using for about a year had done better for us for the longest amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to explain that for 3 months, they did a phenomenal job of a year period. And from that phenomenal 3-month period to where I was like, okay, we've got to change this. They had consistently gone down month over month of the leads they were producing, but more importantly, the number of qualified leads.
Mm-hmm.
Although all the stats had gone down, the qualified leads were just basically non-existent. And their answer to our problem, because I try to problem solve, you put a lot of time and energy into joining somebody's Facebook advertising group. It takes a lot of upfront time and energy. So I try everything to work with the people that we've hired to do that for us, to produce what they say they're going to produce for us. And their only answer was up the ad spend, up the ad spend, up the ad spend. And actually, as we upped the ad spend per their suggestion, because they were supposed to be the experts on this, our lead quality and lead numbers actually went down. So our ROI went exponentially up. So that's kind of about like where we were at before I, thank God, found y'all. And another thing, there was basically no customer service.
Okay.
Again, the last people we used had the best customer service, but still there wasn't immediate accessibility or immediate answers to problems or any organized training on what an IO is, or a high level account, or whatever the particular Facebook advertising group calls it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I had no experience in this, our staff had no experience in this, we kind of were like trial and error, and that cost a lot of time and energy when you're paying somebody a lot of money to do a job for you.
Sure. So what was it that made you hire us specifically? Because I'm sure, besides working with like 7 different companies, I'm sure you guys, like most practices, get reached out to left, right, and center all day long, every day, 4,000 different emails, phone calls, text messages from other companies that are offering to help you guys grow the practice.
Well, actually, we're part of Blueprint, and I scour their Facebook page all the time for what's working with practices and who they're happy with. One person mentioned you with Blueprint, and he was actually no longer with Blueprint, because so I messengered him and asked him about you, and he gave you really good reviews. So then I kind of searched you out on the web, and I Googled you, and was happy with what I saw. But, everybody can put out a nice Google presence if they know anything about advertising. Well, so then I actually I contacted you, and I think the guy that I had contacted hooked us up with a joint email. Hey, this is XYZ, and she's looking for some help or something like that. And so then we got on a call, and I pretty much grilled you about everything we'd ever had issues about. And you came back with all the right answers. And I'm like, we've definitely got nothing to lose trying you. Well, then once we signed up and you sent out your whole educational string of pretty much how to do everything that we need to do on our end to make you be able to produce what we're asking for on your end. Because if you don't have the information from us, it's really hard for you to do your job. And it was laid out logically. And as concise as it could be for the material you had to cover. But like I said, I'm 64. I managed my wife's practice for 30 something years, and she was one of the highest number chiropractors in the United States, not just women, but total numbers of the clinic. And all we did was chiropractic. There was none of this niche stuff when we were in practice before. And so I've got some history on whether somebody's doing their job and how they're teaching things. And hands down, your customer service, your training is the best I have seen in my almost 40 years of being involved with practices.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Tell me a little bit about that initial onboarding experience. So yeah, you went through our initial materials, and then I know there was like questions that you went through. What was your overall experience? Because I know we had a couple calls there as well. Connected with your team and such. What was your experience there? And then really just as we're launching and get started.
So you had a very specific list, and because we had done it with 7 other companies, I kind of knew what you were looking for. Doesn't mean you don't still have to get it together. And even though that part of the process, I think, is the most time consuming of anybody wanting to change Facebook marketing companies, it's well worth the time and effort for somebody that's actually, for the company that you're going to hire, to actually do what they say they're going to do. And because we were a little gun shy, and more dollars for us didn't equate to more leads with any of our previous Facebook companies, we actually started with y'all at half the ad spend we were using with our most recent Facebook advertiser. And y'all produced, I think, like 70% more leads and 100% more qualified leads with half the spending we were previously doing. And there's 2 pieces to that. Half the previous ad spend plus half the fees, like company fees, like their fee for us getting to be part of their company's Facebook advertising. Your fee is less than half what we were paying them also.
That's insane. So you literally spent half the money, half the fee and half the ad spend, and got twice the number of qualified leads as a result.
Correct.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, what y'all are doing is amazing. You actually do what you say you're going to do, and not just make your advertising look great to get people to sign up. The other thing that's been totally off the charts customer service is you have weekly calls that people can join for tips, and not just tips on advertising, but tips on how to make the advertising, how to capitalize on the advertising better through office procedures. And also, we're assigned our own, what do you call your people that you assign to an account?
Client
Reps?
success. Yeah, client success managers.
Yeah, so each person that joins you is assigned their own client success manager, and all through the onboarding, we had weekly meetings with our entire staff, Google Meets with our client success manager, and literally had to just say, hey, I think we're ready to drop back on this. This is taken away from our training time, but it's available for every week or multiple times a week for as long as the practice needs it. And since we had since our procedures are pretty tight and we had some previous experience over the past couple of years, I don't think we needed as much as y'all offer. But I think for somebody that has never done Facebook or done very little Facebook advertising, what you're offering is worth 10 times what y'all charge as a fee.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Thank you. So how has, I know right now you mentioned you guys have gotten quite a few more qualified leads than you guys previously saw with half the budget. What can you speak to, like, and that touches a little on the results. Could you talk like return on investment? Like what has that looked like thus far with that?
I'm sorry, I don't have those figures. You
Okay.
have them, and you can feel free to state them here. But it's been great. I'm not even going to say anything because I might really undersell you by me stating that. But I know you have those figures, and feel free to plug them in here.
Okay. Is it? I see a few cases. Could I talk to like your guys' numbers? Is it?
Yes,
I
I'm
think
fine with that.
do I see you guys did roughly $30,000 in revenue since we started
Yes,
in the first month? It looks
yes,
like
in 1 month.
in 1 month.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Cool. And so now continuing on beyond onboarding, I know you talked a little bit about the support and almost there being so much support that it was almost it's been excellent, but more than has even been necessary. How's your experience been on a continued basis with, just ongoing after we got onboarded, got things launched,
Oh,
and
that's
as we
something
continue
I
to go
didn't.
forward?
I'm sorry I interrupted you, but that's something I didn't even mention. Our staff emails y'all with little, nothing we need a meeting about, but with just little glitches or something we want added or something we don't understand totally. It's our fault, not y'all's. And generally within 5 minutes, it's rare that within 5 minutes we don't have an email response.
That's excellent.
And I mean, that's just has not been my experience with any other. Remember, we've been through about 7 that are supposedly all the best in the market. And until you all, I've been totally underwhelmed.
What's your vision for our partnership here moving forward?
Well, we actually just upped our ad spend because I wanted to see if your results backed your words before we did that. So we've just upped our ad spend to get some more qualified leads.
Amazing. Can you talk to that too, actually? Because I remember we had some conversations initially, and I was setting your expectations. And I remember telling you a couple times, like, "Hey, I'm trying to be very careful what I say because I didn't want to over promise." And now we've gotten started. Would you say that what we initially talked about, the initial discussion, was it about in alignment with what we like what I promised was basically in alignment with what you guys really started seeing?
100%.
Very cool. Very cool. And what would you say to people who are on the fence about working with us and trying to find a solution to driving more new patients, driving more shows, more qualified new patients, and all of that?
I would say don't go anywhere else. Go with Think Bullish.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there anything else, Karen, you would like to add that we haven't covered?
Only that y'all walk your talk. You know, people may look at you and think this guy's really young, but age doesn't really matter when somebody is driven to succeed. And with what you've done with your company in 5 years, I think you've been in business 5 years, is that right?
Yeah.
Is pretty amazing. And I see you just exploding the Facebook marketing world for chiropractors, whether they have regular chiropractic practices, whether they have PI practices, whether they have niche practices, or a combination of all. There's really, in my experience, and with talking to other blueprint doctors that use other Facebook advertising, nobody's had the kind of results that you have given our company.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on here, sharing your story, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this year unfolds as we shoot for the next targets.
We are too.